Welcome to this introduction of the ETSI IPR Policy, which provides the framework to manage essential intellectual property rights in standardization work in ETSI. This policy concerns two key elements: the standard on the one hand and the patent on the other. A standard can be defined as a document established by consensus and approved by a recognized body that provides rules, guidelines, characteristics, or requirements to ensure that products, services, or processes operate consistently and reliably across different users and contexts. Within the ETSI environment, ICT standards aim to facilitate interoperability between products in a multi-vendor, multi-network, and multi-service ecosystem. If you wish to learn more about the role and functioning of ICT standards, I invite you to consult the dedicated learning modules. A patent, as defined by the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, is an exclusive right, essentially a legal monopoly, granted for an invention. An invention may be a product or a process that provides, in general, a new way of doing something or offers a new technical solution to a problem. To obtain a patent, the inventor must disclose the technical details of the invention to the public through a patent application. It is not unusual for ICT standards to incorporate technical contributions from various sources, some of which may contain patented technologies. This means that, in practice, certain patents may become essential to a standard. The ETSI IPR policy provides a definition of essentiality. In summary, a patent is considered essential when it is technically impossible to implement the standard without using, and therefore without infringing, the patented technology. This creates a situation in which an inherent tension must be managed. On one hand, a standard must remain available to all implementers in the market. On the other hand, a patent grants its owner a legal monopoly, giving the patent holder the right to prevent others from using the patented technology and, by extension, the standard that incorporates that technology. There is therefore a need to strike a balance between ensuring broad access to the standard and respecting the legitimate rights of the patent owners. Providing the framework for this balance is precisely the purpose of the ETSI IPR policy. This balance also serves ETSI's interest in developing standards that meet the highest technical expectations while remaining widely implementable. Ensuring that standards reflect the state of the art is indeed essential to ensure the added value on the market and for the industry. To achieve this fair balance, the ETSI IPR policy defines the rights and obligations applicable to ETSI as an institute and to its members. It is built on the following key principles. First, timely knowledge of the existence of standard essential patents, or SEPs, for a given standard. Second, reducing the risk that SEPs become unavailable to implementers. Third and last, creating an incentive for members to contribute with patented technology with a prospect of receiving a fair return on the investment. A closer look at the ETSI IPR policy shows that ETSI members have an obligation, when participating in the development of a standard, to disclose any essential patent in a timely manner. Although the policy does not set a specific deadline, it encourages members to make disclosures as early as possible. ETSI does not assess the essentiality of the patents declared. This assessment remains entirely the responsibility of the patent owner. When making a disclosure, ETSI members must also indicate whether they are willing to provide a FRIEND licensing commitment. As a reminder, FRIEND refers to conditions that are fair, reasonable, and non-discriminatory. Such a commitment ensures that the standard remains accessible to all implementers. It allows implementers to use patented technologies that might otherwise not be available to them, while also giving patent holders an incentive to contribute their technologies by providing a fair return on their investment. The FRAND licensing undertaking is binding on all successors in interest. This means that if ownership of an essential patent changes, the FRAND commitment continues to apply to the new patent owner. It is also important to note that ETSI does not define what constitutes a FRAND rate. Determining FRAND terms is left to the commercial negotiations between the patent holder and the implementer. Likewise, ETSI does not participate in nor take any position on licensing discussions. Now, how this works in practice. At the beginning of each meeting, the chairs of the technical committees issue a call for IPR. They invite participants to declare any essential patents they may have, and thereby remind them of their obligations under the ETSI IPR policy. The disclosure process is carried out entirely online through the ETSI IPR database, where declarants can also indicate whether or not they provide the FRAND licensing undertaking. This tool enables ETSI members to comply with their obligation as set out in the IPR policy. The database is public, meaning that any stakeholder can check whether essential patents have been declared for a given standard. This gives implementers visibility into the patent licenses that may be required to use the standard. As a result, the database enhances transparency and predictability, making the ETSI IPR database an important asset for the industry. If an essential patent was not available on FRAND terms, the technical committee could consider revising the standard to adopt an alternative technology. However, to date, this scenario has remained largely theoretical. A few words now on the ETSI IPR database. As of today, it is the largest SEP database, with more than 500,000 unique standard essential patents disclosed. Now, this figure does not mean that every standard has associated essential patents. The presence of patented technologies varies depending on the technological domain of a given standard. For example, when standardization work started on the 5G in the context of 3GPP, a significant increase in SEP disclosure was observed. To properly interpret these numbers, it is also important to keep in mind that ETSI operates in a domain in which many companies, for example the telecom industry, traditionally build large patent portfolios and use them in licensing programs or in cross-licensing negotiations. The IPR database is also interfaced with ESPASnet, enabling declarants to automatically import all patents belonging to the relevant patent family they own that are available in the EPO database. Several reporting tools are also publicly available with the ETSI IPR database for both basic and advanced users. In particular, the entire IPR database dataset is freely accessible and used by various stakeholders for different purposes. By companies, for business intelligence activities, by service providers, for patent analyzers or studies, for example, and even by organizations like WIPO, which has integrated the data into patent scope. I would also like to highlight a few important points regarding the ETSI FRAND licensing commitment. This commitment is a promise to grant a license, which under French law is considered a binding contractual undertaking. From this perspective, it differs from the IPR policies of some other STOs, which often require only, if I may say, a commitment to enter into good faith negotiations rather than a firm promise to license. Still under French law, the FRAND licensing undertaking is characterized as a stipulation pour autrui. This is a specific contractual mechanism, still in French law, for which one party to a contract, the stipulator, requires the other party the promiser, to undertake a performance for the benefit of a third party, the beneficiary. In the context of the ETSI Friend Commitment, ETSI acts as the stipulator, the patent holder is the promiser, and the implementer of the standard is the beneficiary of a promised friend license. This stipulation poetry mechanism in the ETSI IPR policy has been recognized as such not only by French courts, but also by courts in other jurisdictions, including courts in England. To conclude, and to summarize this learning module in a nutshell, the ETSI IPR framework strikes a balance between protecting patented technologies and ensuring open, interoperable standards that foster innovation and broad industry participation. By disclosing sets and providing friend licensing commitments, members not only fulfill the obligations under the IPR policy, they also contribute to transparency and predictability, both for the standardization process and for the wider set licensing ecosystem that operates outside ETSI. This foundation is essential for enabling collaboration and for ensuring the efficient development of standards that can be widely adopted. It also makes the ETSI IPR database a strategic asset for the entire industry. Thank you very much for your attention.